So I had a client who was diagnosing decay on a new patient. It was a teenage girl. And, the mother was like, well, we just went to the dentist 6 months ago. How could my daughter have six new cavities, And the doctor said, well, let me show you this X-ray AI detection program that we have, and turned it on and, lit up like a Christmas tree.
AI isn't just changing dentistry, it's completely redefining it. Tune into Bite-sized Podcast, the Dental AI and Tech Podcast, and stay ahead of the curve.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Bite-sized, where we tackle dental AI and technology topics and all sorts of crazy ideas that are going on in the world of tech and AI. And I have a good friend here that's come on, Susan Leckowicz, with a CZ, not a TZ.
Yes.
I had to spell it wrong at least 10 times and get yelled at before I got your freaking last name correct.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Good job.
But I'm not the only one who's made that mistake.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that Susan and I don't know each other. We've had lots of conversations. Now, Susan has been in the dental industry for freaking ever, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you worked in a dental practice for quite a few years. And then you started Dental Coaches. So you're a consultant. You work with practices all over the country, or just all over the country?
All over the country.
Okay.
All over the country. We travel in office for visits, and we do virtual coaching, but we go everywhere.
Well, I got to tell you that the dentalcoaches.com URL that you got was a banging URL.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the biggest green check mark in the win column for you.
You know how I got that?
Dentalcoaches.com. No, how'd you get it?
I just requested it.
You must have been early, though. That's the whole point.
2016, 17. It wasn't all that early, but it was just amazing to me. That was available.
That was still available. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it's been great. I get a lot of inquiries just because of
just because your URL is like the primary keyword for coaching in the dental industry.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that makes you kind of a tech genius.
Oh, definitely. Expert tech.
Hey, and that's why you're on. And we're not talking about SEO today. We're talking about AI and some other tech related to AI. All right. So let's jump into this. You've had a lot of experience in the dental industry in terms of coaching, obviously.
Yep.
And what I'm most interested in understanding from your perspective is this inflection point of actually like AI, kind of like just the early kind of inflection of like AI beginning to influence how dental practices run. So we don't need to get into like some heavy, I don't want to go too deep.
Okay.
I just want to talk about like, if a practice is like just getting started with AI, where do they start? I mean, because you're actually helping practices build and grow and find new patients. And because you got your head in this AI game, you understand kind of where a couple of those small places might be where you could start leveraging AI. So I'd like for you to tell me where that is in the practice.
Okay.
Where do you start? How do you start with your clients?
Okay.
What's an easy win?
Sure. Be happy to. So obviously, one of the most important things in a dental practice is reactivating unscheduled patients, getting patients to come back into the practice. And how do we make the messaging more interesting? How do we make the text reminders and the emails more engaging, more fun, more personalized to the practice, into the patients that you're trying to get to come back into the schedule?
Okay.
So I'm always looking for like something new or fun or different or unique. How do you set your office apart? And how do you help team members find something that's easy to work with, especially if they're feeling stuck, like they're not the most creative? And I am not the most creative person. So this whole ability to use ChatGPT to create information and create something that is going to move the dial and make people do, take action that you can feel good about and happy about. So,
all right. So tell me how you, what, like, give me an example of something that you've done.
Well, we'll go into a ChatGPT account and we'll create a persona. We'll start saying, okay, we would like to send a text message to our patients who are mostly adults who are needing to come in for their overdue hygiene visit, but we want something that's fun and we want something maybe that's related to the season
Okay.
and create some type of sense of urgency. So giving those few prompts, ChatGPT will create some options for you. And then they'll say, would you like a shorter version? Would you like a longer version? Do you
Mhm.
want to offer something? It'll help you develop it and kind of fine tune your messaging.
So what you're digging in on here is the creativity of AI, which I found to be, if you think about a software program, you don't think about creativity, you think about math and algorithms,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But when I started using AI, I found that the creative capabilities of AI is unbelievable. And it's like writing poems or writing songs or that kind of aspect of AI.
Hmm.
It's extremely efficient, like unbelievably efficient. So being able to go in and give it a prompt, like you've described giving it a prompt
Hmm.
that's giving it a persona so it understands kind of who it is, and then tweaking it this way or that way based on, do you want irony in
Yes.
this text, or do you want it to be about spring, or come up with some kind of a creative idea and giving it a prompt to push it in a direction. It's quite amazing what you get out. And it's like you could go in, because I've done this something similar to what you're talking about, where I said, give me 50 social media posts. Same thing as kind of building it,
Yep.
writing a text. And I want this social media post to be about blah, blah, blah. I give it its parameters. And then it just spits out 50 social media posts like that. And now 45 of them I might not like, but 5 of them might be dead on. And so the amount of time that it takes for me to sit in a quiet place and come up with some creative marketing copy versus giving a prompt that's in the general direction of what I'm going for, and then getting all of that and then deciding which ones I want to use. Like I'd never do it the other way. I'd never go sit down and
Right.
try and write it because I'm just not a creative person like that, like you.
Mm-hmm.
And AI just has this really great way of like using language to just come up with super creative stuff. So this creativity idea is really
Right.
interesting.
And you can take your content or your idea and the AI agent will just develop it more for you.
Okay, like
Now
give me an
what?
example. What do you mean?
So you could prompt it to, all right, I want to create a message that is going to be fun for our patients to return to the practice. Okay, make it a little shorter. I don't like that. Or give it a more professional tone, or give it more of a silly tone. Or,
Yeah.
okay, that really sounds like me. And the agent will also ask you questions. Well, how about this? Or how about that? So I didn't even think of that, and it takes your idea. I used to think of it as really like cheating, but what it does is it just helps you develop more of what might have taken you a long time to think about or refine
Well,
over
tell
time
tell
and
me
edit.
before you started using ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools to do this or the practice, what would you
Mhm.
do?
Well, it was tough, it was hard to think about, okay, how am I going to create, a message that sounds different than, you're overdue, for your visit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
prior to that, or I'd try to maybe take an idea from another industry, right? Oh,
right.
here's
And
another
then tweak it for
industry.
dentistry.
Yeah, how could this relate to be appealing for a
Right,
dental patient or dental practice? I'd be kind of looking at outside elements, like what could be fun
right.
for
So
practice.
it's rather than spending the time to narrow in really close without AI, spending the
Yep.
time to narrow in really close to try and get to where
Mhm.
you want to go, which takes, frankly, you got to you have to have focused time. You've got
Right.
to be like
Right.
sitting, and you can't have people talking to you because
Right.
you're looking for something that's going to
Right.
work, right? That versus I kind of generally know what I want. Let me just focus it in that direction and see what I get. And when you take it from that perspective, what's happening is in your mind, you're not having to spend as much time refining the idea internally to come up with the solution. You're just going, I kind of want a text that's going to go out in the spring to my patients that is fun and related to blah, 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 blah. I
Mhm.
don't know what I'm going to land with, but give me a whole bunch of ideas.
Mhm.
That process
Mhm.
is so much quicker.
Mhm. Right.
And actually, you get I mean, unless you're a freaking genius and you can write like,
Mhm.
you're a great copywriter, which many people are not. Even
Mhm.
people who claim they're great
Right.
copywriters aren't,
Right.
you know, you're just never going to get there. You're just never you're going to end up getting some bland kind of message, right?
Mhm. Or you
So,
direct it towards your area, right? There's something happening in my area. I want to kind of play off of that. There's a festival in this town that, we want to be kind of connected to, or
right.
something, just very unique. How unique can I make this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. To what I want to do. And also, even for like newsletters, say there was something exciting happening with the doctor or with the team member, you can give it enough information to say, I want to write a newsletter for my patients that's going to emphasize the celebration of the doctor spending, 30 years as a dentist in this
Right.
practice. And here are some facts. And
Yeah.
it just very, very quickly helps you create what you need.
So this is all about prompting,
Mhm.
which, in a lot of the episodes that we've done, we end up talking about prompting because prompting is the activity that the human needs to figure out.
Mhm.
Humans need to figure out how to prompt, which is the way in which to direct an AI to get what you want, to get a result
Mhm.
that you want.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of styles or instructions on how to do this. I wrote a blog post called How to Prompt for Dentistry, or I can't remember the title of it, but
Yeah.
anyway, the prompting style that I came up was called WWAC, WWWAC, right?
Okay.
Who, what, why, audience, constraints. So, and there's a lot of them. If you do a search on Google and say, give me a prompting style guide, you're going to find a million articles on how to
Mhm.
prompt. So, and they all have acronyms kind of like that.
Mhm.
But so the who, what, why, audience, constraints gives you the instructions on how to prompt properly. So who is not who you are or who I am. It's you're telling the AI agent who it is. You are a dental practice marketing manager. That's the who. What are you doing? You're writing a newsletter. Okay. A newsletter that's going to go out to your patients. Well, you can just say you're writing a newsletter. Why? We want to announce blah, 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 or we want to tell our patients about blah, blah, blah. The audience are patients. These are patients in this city and state that are subscribed to our newsletter, right? And the constraints is probably one of the most important parts because the more constraints that you give a prompt, the better the output comes. Constraints are like be polite, be empathetic, be ironic,
Right.
be goofy, write about the holiday, write about the season, include information about this particular person in the practice, or don't mention anybody. Keep it to 250 words or less. You give it the constraints that then direct what the output comes out. Now, there is one other, and I'll put in the show notes, I'll put a link to that article if anybody wants to read it. But there's another way to do prompting that's even easier, and it's kind of crazy. But you can go into ChatGPT and you can say, I don't know how to prompt, and I'm trying to write a newsletter for a dental practice. Can you give me a prompt? And the freaking AI will give you the prompt to copy and paste back into the AI to prompt correctly. That's the easy way to do it.
Brilliant. Right.
Right.
Brilliant.
So what's interesting about all of this is that AI is so creative and the capabilities are so broad that most people don't even know what they're working, like what they can do. Like
Mhm.
if you can think it,
Mhm.
You know, if it's copywriting and you can think, oh, could I do it? You could probably do it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So anyway, around your idea of prompting, giving it a persona,
Right.
the way that you give it a persona is you make that prompt correct. Now, I do want to talk about one other thing about this because I'm curious about how you manage things inside of your ChatGPT. But when you go into ChatGPT, on the left-hand panel, you can create a chat. You can have multiple chats.
Mhm.
Each chat, you can give the agent its own persona, right? So
Right.
if you're writing a newsletter is a different tone than maybe a social media post. And it's definitely a different tone than like, following up with a patient because they owe you some money, right?
Okay.
So you can
Sure.
go into ChatGPT, you can create a chat. You can give it its initial prompt and you could say, let's say this is for a social media post. I want you to be, WAC model. You are a social media marketing manager for this dental practice. You are writing social media posts, captions and posts. Your audience are the people in this area. Or so what are you writing? Social media. Why? You want to attract people to your practice. You want to be fun and inviting, blah, 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 blah. Audience, patients in this area. Constraints. I want it to be funny, exciting. I want the captions to be hooks, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
So you create that chat in that chat chain in there. And then what you can do is you can go back to the same chat chain over and over and over again and say, write me 10 social media posts about a teeth whitening campaign. Write me 10 social
Right.
media posts about a dental implant campaign. Write me 10, right? And you're not having to redo the prompt. You just leave it
Right.
open and you just
Yes.
come back to it over and over and over again. Right?
Mhm.
Is that how you're doing it?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like,
So
so
it's
then
sort of
there's less
setting up
work.
your files, right? It's
Yeah.
less setting up what you need, as long as you like it, but
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You also mentioned like iterating. I don't know if you use the word iterating, but you put a prompt in, you get something out, and then it's not exactly what you want. What do you do if you need it to kind of like iterate again?
well, I'll decide, oh, it just doesn't sound like me, right? Or it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like something I would say. So can you make this a little more playful? Can you change the tone of this? Can you make it so that it's going to appeal to someone who's trying to get their teenage child
Right.
to brush their teeth or something? The more I think you can sort of boil it down to what you exactly want. And then what I like is it'll come back and say, do you want a blog post version? Do you want a newsletter version? Do you
Yeah.
want, do you want this shorter? Do you want this longer? It'll ask
It'll
um
make
for
suggestions.
ideas, make suggestions,
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
that you can go, yeah, hey, that's a good idea. Oh, no, don't like that one.
Yeah.
Or you save different versions of it because you say, well, maybe this one will work at a different time.
Cool. So prompting, big
Mm.
deal.
Yeah.
Really important to get comfortable with how to use it and the flexibility of prompting. Why don't you tell me a few other places in a dental practice where AI is kind of influential? Anything else that you might recommend to a dental
Yes.
practice?
Well, certainly the technology of reading
Okay,
radiographs for decay, reading radiographs for endodontic lesions, reading for bone levels, for
got it.
periodontal disease, for really creating that additional proof to a patient of what you're trying to explain.
Okay,
So a lot of my clients are using Pearl AI and they're
yeah,
finding that, a patient doesn't really understand, well, that area is a little darker gray than this area here. And can you see, what I'm seeing here? But you turn on something that's more brightly lit, that's
right.
read, by technology. And I think people now understand that how this is being used in hospital settings and used in other medical areas that they're saying, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah,
Or
and they're beginning to trust it to some degree.
right. Right. And it's another proof or another
It's like a second
option there.
opinion.
The second opinion.
Yeah,
Yes. There you go.
I
So
don't.
that's,
I think I know. I've looked at Pearl AI. It's an
yeah.
incredible product. I wish I would have developed it. But one of the things that I think that doctors might have a problem with using a radiography type of, or X-ray
Mhm.
AI, is that, does it undermine the doctor? Does it undermine the doctor's, you know, case or their suggestions? Or is it coming across in a way where it's supporting? It's like a second opinion kind of an idea. What's your experience with that?
I think it's more of a support than undermining, what is happening in the practice. So I had a client who was diagnosing decay on a new patient. It was a teenage girl. And, the mother was like, well, we just went to the dentist 6 months ago. How could my daughter have six new cavities,
Yeah.
And the doctor said, well, let me show you this X-ray AI detection
Yeah.
program that we have, and turned it on and, lit up like a Christmas tree. And the mother was, looking at the daughter and was upset, with the daughter,
Oh,
like it was just like, oh,
like,
all right,
brush your freaking, floss your
well,
teeth, brush.
what's happening,
Yeah.
right? Is it too much sugar in the diet, or what's going
Yeah.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
that this is happening, to this patient? But it was a good confirmation because it was a new dentist, right? This is somebody new. I don't really know this
Yeah.
dentist. I don't know this practice. I don't, how could this be, and just sort of being in denial that there was a problem. But
Has your experience with Pearl, and this is not, we don't have any affiliation with Pearl, so
right.
I'm just curious. Have you noticed higher case acceptance?
Oh, definitely.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of help too with detecting early periodontal problems,
Okay.
early bone loss, which is very hard to really see oftentimes in a traditional radiograph. And they have this ability to look back at your previous patient's radiographs and read them and say, this patient, based on what we see, has an early stage gum disease. You might want to start talking about this, at
Okay.
this upcoming visit. So it sort of gives you kind of a heads up
Yeah.
so that you can prepare. And again, we know that periodontal disease is best treated in early stages. So it's like, how do you communicate that to a
Okay.
patient? Here's the best time, because we know this bone loss is irreversible and we don't want to have you treat this in later stages where you're going to lose more. Let's take care of this in earlier stages. So that's
Yeah.
been a big part of it. And, sometimes people get busy and miss things too, like it's hectic and busy in dental offices.
Yeah.
How great is it to
Totally.
have this ability to go, okay, let me see what this is saying. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Let me double check that.
Yeah.
So
That's great. All right.
yeah,
So we've got,
it's great.
use ChatGPT, learn how to prompt.
Yeah.
You can leverage that for pretty much anything that involves
Mhm.
copywriting,
Right.
newsletters,
Right.
emails. You can
Yeah.
write service pages for your website, blog articles,
Mhm.
social media posts, texts, all that kind of stuff that takes time, can be sped up dramatically, and you'll probably get a better output.
Mhm.
With diagnostics, Pearl is a great option, and I see why that might be valuable. Anything else that you feel like is a place that
Mhm.
dental practices can leverage AI, and it's kind of an
So,
easy win?
right. So having an AI agent for phone calls that the
Mm,
team is missing, phone calls that are coming in when the office is closed, phone calls that may be going to voicemail where patients are going to be hanging up on it.
okay.
So how can a team take, especially smaller teams, can help relieve some of those phone calls that can take a lot of time, but oftentimes are patients just confirming the time of their appointment. Okay.
Right. Right.
Any AI can do that. They want to know what day their appointment is. Okay, can read the schedule. And the offices that are using Annie AI are really amazed at how well the training's been going over time with
Yeah.
these agents to really represent their practice, their philosophy, what they patients need to know, and how many calls they would have just missed to voicemail that,
Yeah.
it's like amazing. So that's been really
So I
tremendous.
actually brought Connor Ludlow on, to Bite Sized. He's the CEO of Annie.
Okay.
Um, so I'm familiar with the product, and we interviewed him. We didn't talk too much about his product, but basically you're saying that this is an AI agent that can take phone calls. So it has a voice. what else does it do? Does it just take phone calls?
Well, it can schedule patients. It can read
Okay.
your schedule.
Okay.
If you train it, how do patients come into the practice? How do we answer the phone call of,
Okay.
do you take this insurance? How does insurance work in my practice? So whatever you find that you would train a team member on, saying a new patient or any patient on the phone, you can train this AI agent.
Yeah. I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them actually that have popped up in the last year or so, and they're unbelievable. The capabilities of AI to actually, what they call conversational AI, the ability of the agent to have a natural human-like conversation and overcome objections. It's pretty fantastic.
Mhm.
And last time I read an article, or I'm trying to spend a long time, but stats were something like around a third of the phone calls that come in are missed at a dental practice.
Mhm.
Is that what you've seen?
Yes,
That's
it's
unbelievable.
staggering. It's staggering. It's staggering.
What would happen if your company, dental coaches, missed a third of the phone calls that came in?
Yeah. I wouldn't be happy
Yeah,
with that.
it would not be a good
No.
thing,
No,
right?
and people want convenience, right? A patient
Yeah.
wants convenience. They want, be able to get what they need and then get off the phone.
Okay. All right. So great. Anything else you want to mention? You
Not
good
today.
with those? Those are
Yeah.
three quick wins to
Yes.
leverage AI. So we could probably say an action item for people that are listening. If you haven't used ChatGPT, do it. It's free. Use a free version of it, right? Do you usually set up a free version if you're working with a practice that's never used it?
I have. I've upgraded myself to the paid version, and I think if you use it enough and you see a lot of value in it, certainly,
Well, it's like
it's,
$30 a month or something like that.
yes, it's minimal. So it's,
If it saves you an hour or two of time and also speeds up other tasks, it's totally worth it.
definitely.
All right, so ChatGPT, using that and then learning how to prompt correctly and then thinking of creative ways to leverage it for different types of content,
Mhm.
social media posts, texts, and things like that.
Yeah.
Pearl AI, Annie AI
Yeah.
are good software tools that
Yeah.
can help with diagnostics, patient phone calls, missed calls, that kind of stuff. So those are all great steps. Is there if somebody has like never used AI, what's the first thing to do then? Of all that, what would you say they should do?
Well, the easiest step would be to try ChatGPT. Sign up for
Okay.
ChatGPT and just start with creating some
Some
copy
social
for
media posts
something,
or
for a social media post or for reactivation campaign or text message to a patient or something like that. I think that is the easiest, and that kind of makes it fun too. And that's super easy.
yeah.
Certainly getting involved with, a demo for Pearl or for a demo for Annie AI and taking a look at that and trying that out. And, the setup for Annie for my clients has been great. There's been a lot of customization and a lot of personalization
Yeah.
to what this agent, would be saying to the patients. And I like the fact that it says, this is Annie AI, the artificial intelligence
So
agent. It's
it's
not
not
trying to,
masquerading as a human.
no. And I
Yeah.
had a challenge with that at a hotel I was staying at, where I was calling for, our room hadn't been cleaned, and I could tell right away it was an agent, and I was like, I really need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Like it was sort of, it's interesting now when you have these conversations on the phone. Is this a real person or is this
Yeah.
not a person? What's going
Hey,
on?
that's a little off-putting for a lot of people. But I think what's going to happen is very, very quickly, as the agents get really, really good, people are probably going to want to talk to an AI agent as long as the capabilities of the agent can solve the problem.
Right.
I don't think it's really that important for a human being to make a call and talk to an AI agent as long as the problem is solved. If a problem can't be solved, then they're frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like getting stuck in a phone tree when you call
Mm-hmm.
Verizon or somebody like that.
Okay.
But if the agent can understand language well enough and be able to solve the millions of
Right.
different questions that come through, like, you don't care to talk to a human. You just need your problem solved. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and they're getting so good, and
Right.
Yeah, it's
Only getting
almost,
better.
it's only
Yeah.
going to get better. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to put in the show notes, I'm going to put links to your website.
Okay, great.
Is it okay if I put your contact
Sure.
information?
Yes.
I'll put links in there to ChatGPT,
Mhm.
Pearl, Annie. I'll put links in there to some prompting instructions.
Okay.
And I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's been
You're
fun.
awesome. I'm excited to
Great.
see how things go for you with your company, and we'll have you back sometime. Okay.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
It
All
was
right. You
fun.
take care.
Thanks for listening to Bite Size Podcast. Tune in to stay up to date with everything dental AI and tech